Hey everybody, time for part 5. We're going to pick up where we left off before. I've got a new filming setup here that lets me use both my hands. Nothing's in the way, no weird angles. We're going to see how it turns out for this. If you have any comments on the filming, I would be glad to hear them. So where we left off last time, we had this control board here. We wired the B button, the A button, and a ground button. And we hot glued them down, and we avoided this area here. So now what comes next is I guess we should talk about these. So this is another good area of customization that you can have. You can change out these buttons here. You can change out the D-pad. You can change out this surround. You can change the guide button, bumpers, triggers. So the tools you need for this part are the Torx 6. It may be a spudger if you need a little help. You're doing plastic on plastic, you just want to keep things kind of as nice as possible. So for this area here, we need to take off this surround first. And then we'll take out this circuit board, and I'll show you some of the stuff that goes on in there. So the easiest way to do this is to push down on the guide button slightly and pop up over these two small tabs that are here and here. So if you push down on the guide button, it lets you kind of get that up and over. Once that's over, you want to flip it over, and you basically want to try to work it past where the bumpers are. Now, you can either do it while the circuit board's in. That's one way that some folks do it if they're just changing these pieces and don't need to change this. That's why I showed that. I kind of prefer to take all these screws out first. So I'll go ahead and do this, and we'll do that as a high-speed wipe or something in the editing. Alright, so now you've got this. The circuit board has no more screws in it, nothing to necessarily hold it in place, and you can pull this up and work it out. There's these two small tabs here you have to watch out for, but when you do that, you can just lift it out, set this guy to the side. If you're changing the buttons, you have to pull this contact up here. Those black dots are those carbon pads I talked about in the previous video, and then now these buttons actually just pop right out. You can swap those for new colored buttons if you have them, or what have you. If you are going to change the buttons, those are the easiest thing to change here. The guide surround just pops right out now. The triggers are a little more unique. They've got a screw here and a screw here that hold the impulse motors in here, and also the magnet for the triggers. They work off of something called a Hall effect sensor. Once you've done that, there's you have to take the bumpers off. There's a pin here. You got to pry up on that with something like a spudger, and then there's a corresponding pin on the other side. When I do this, all these buttons are going to come out, so let's just take them out now so we don't lose them. There's a corresponding pin on the other side here, and whenever you do that, both of these come off. This trigger will start to fall forward, and then as you can see here, there's a pin. You pop that pin out, it slides in and out. You could be able to do it with something like this. You just pull them right out, pops back in the same way. Be careful with those, don't lose them. The springs and the pins aren't something you can just go out to the hardware store and buy. Another thing where you want to watch out for is in this guide area is the sync button. It goes back in a special way. We'll cover that. And then there's this snap ring retaining in the D-pad. If you want to take the D-pad out, you just come in through this slot here, or this side, pry that up, this comes up, D-pad comes out. And the easiest thing to remember about the D-pad is when you're putting a new one in, there's one that's going to have a really short leg. That's the down. These other ones have little tiny buttons that correspond to where they actually press on here. This is the D-pad, and yeah, so the one without a leg goes down. So the person that I'm modifying this for wants a yellow LED. So you know, we'll cover that in the next video. I just wanted to show kind of how to get this subframe apart. If you needed to replace these, if your buttons aren't working anymore, you can get these from morbidsticks.com. Or if you wanted to change out your plastics and your buttons, that's how you would do that. Let me know if you have any questions on replacing those parts, and you know, we'll move on to the next one, and glad to help anybody that has any problems if I can. Thanks.